this evening. But what I would like to begin with is talk about some of the successes that we've had together that I'm very proud of. First of all, after-school programs, certainly in Yonkers, we've worked together to get millions of dollars to the schools. Breast cancer research began at $133 million. I'm very happy to report it's over $1.3 billion, and some of you may have seen the latest success. It took me 9 years to get a bill passed which was investing in research over $40 million a year for the connection between the environment and breast cancer. Drunk driving. Some of you remember .08, but you probably forgot that it was my bill, and zero tolerance was mine as well. So the kids shouldn't be driving and drink at the same time. They shouldn't drink altogether, but they certainly shouldn't get in the back of the car. Homeland Security, I serve as a senior member of, okay, we'll talk about the other things later. Was that 2 minutes? Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Russell.
I too would like to thank the Bronxville League of Women Voters for organizing this event, and thank all of you for taking the time to come here this evening. Events such as this are rare occasions when the voters have the opportunity to hear for themselves where their candidates stand on the vital issues of the day. That's why I was so disappointed when I learned this past week that my opponent had chosen not to attend 2 out of the 4 League of Women Voter forums that had been planned many weeks in advance. Nita Lowey and I have fundamental differences in our domestic and foreign policies. It's important that you know where I stand on the issues, so here's a brief summary. First of all, the economic crisis that confronts us today is the consequence of Congress's failure to restrain the greed and speculation of Wall Street investment firms like Bear Stearns and Lehman Brothers, whose executives have contributed generously to my opponent's campaign. Our primary focus must be to protect the savings of American workers. Secondly, we must have an even-handed foreign policy that reduces American intervention in foreign military conflicts. I would not co-sponsor, as Nita Lowey has, carelessly crafted legislation which encourages a U.S. blockade of Iran, a very dangerous move which could provoke another war. Thirdly, we need to have our federal immigration laws enforced, especially as they relate to illegal aliens who have been convicted of crimes in our neighborhoods. As your congressman, I will not only be there to assist you with your personal problems with the federal bureaucracy, but I will sponsor monthly forums on the issues before Congress to solicit your opinions, and I'll be quick to respond to the problems that confront our neighborhoods.
Thank you. The yellow sign is caution, 30 seconds. You have another 30 seconds if you want to take it.
Yes, regarding the immigration issue, in 2007, Westchester County Executive Andrew Spano asked Nita Lowey at least twice to help expedite the removal of nearly 700 illegal aliens on probation. By this August, that number had risen to 760. And therefore, on my concern, I went to Washington and was able to speak with the Assistant Secretary for Immigration and Customs Enforcement and asked her personally to try and expedite this situation. And I'll continue to have that type of proactive attitude if elected.
Thank you. And this is a question for the candidates from the Bronxville League. Each of you will have 1.5 minutes to answer. Considering the current economic crisis, what will be your top 3 legislative priorities?
May I just ask one question? Can I respond to, am I allowed to do that?
No.
Okay, I'll have to say it.
And we will go this time. Mr. Russell, you may go first.
I think the first thing is to protect the savings of American workers, the retirement accounts, 401ks, the IRA accounts. We do that in a number of ways. By guaranteeing them as FDIC deposits or sometimes insured. Perhaps set a certain date, let's say September 1st of this year, and try and see what the assets of individuals were and try to guarantee the person, let's say, had a certain percentage of their assets, so that we don't see people who have saved over their lives and totally wiped out, so they to guarantee at least 40 to 50% of some of those assets, instead of over $700 billion going to Bank of America and other major banks. Second of all, we want to try and help those people who have been defrauded into accepting mortgages that they didn't know that they were getting into, but getting adjustable rate mortgages when they thought they were getting 15-year fixed fixed rate mortgages on their homes. And third of all, we want to institute a system of regulation overseen by Congress so that something like this never happens again, so that we restore the distance between banks and securities industries so that people are not lured into investing carelessly in the bank or CDs, mature, and someone says, oh, would you like a higher rate over here? And they're not really told, well, that's not FDIC insured. We have to make sure that the people are protected.
Thank you.
During the 12 years the Republicans were in control of the Congress and the White House, they did nothing to put in place regulations. Frankly, it was last August where we first put in regulations to deal with Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. There's an important program that the FHA insures called Help for Homeowners. So those homeowners that were lured into mortgages that they really can't afford can get some help, and the mortgages can be reworked to 30 years fixed rate mortgages. Secondly, I would continue to work on the credit issue. I passed with Carolyn Maloney a credit card bill. If you talk to some of the local shopkeepers, as I've been doing this week, some of them have interest payments 25%, 28%, one had 38%. We have to make sure we clamp down hard and rework. It didn't get out of the House. The President didn't support it. The Senate didn't support it. We have to take care of that again. Certainly regulations that my colleague mentioned. This is absolutely essential. When Paulson and Bernanke gave us the 3 pages that were blank, just give us the authority, we sent back 100 pages, put in place a board. Appropriate oversight, transparency is absolutely critical. When the Secretary of Treasury and the Federal Reserve Chair asked you to sign off on a bill or the whole economy is collapsing, we had some confidence, but we didn't want to give them a blank check. And that's why we put in place these tough regulations. Then there are other things like college tuition deductibility to help the middle class.
Thank you. We will move to the next segment where we'll take questions from the audience. I will ask you to come to either mic, and you can line up at the mics actually to save time, and you must state your name and address. Please limit your question to no more than a minute. Less is better. No speeches. And your question must address an issue. No personal questions will be allowed. And the moderator may rule anything considered out of order.
Good evening, Dennis McCarthy, Hawthorne, New York. Considering the escalation of the Mideast crisis, looking since I've been born, or since I've been able to watch TV, seen this crisis on TV, what is the root cause of the peace crisis? Not just with the war with Afghanistan, with the war we have with Iraq, but the concerns in the whole area of Palestine and Iran. What is the root cause, and what are the solutions to everlasting peace in the Mideast? What do you propose? And if you could just also qualify your answer with some sort of history. What, not just what are we drawing upon? What kind of historical impact do we learn from history?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let me just, does it matter?
Yes, we'll take turns, and it's your turn to go first.
Oh, okay. Thank you for that question, but in a minute and a half, I'd rather focus on the future, and then I'd be delighted to talk about the history, which is a much longer response. I was very pleased to know today that Tzipi Livni and Barak and Omar, who is on his way out, are beginning to reconsider the Saudi Arabia deal that was put on the table, which is to give back all lands from 1967. However, there are questions, and there may be some swaps, but I think it was most important that at least there was some real discussion